From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Live from the CBS studios in San Francisco, I'm Brian Hackman.
And I'm Andrea Nakano. We begin in Sonoma County, where some concerned neighbors are standing up against ICE operations.
They're accusing their county leaders and the sheriff of failing to support the immigrant community during threats of a federal surge of ICE agents in the Bay Area.
Let's rewind back to Thursday. The president canceled increased ICE operations in the region after a talk with San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie and tech leaders like Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff.
Despite the White House calling off the operations, we saw protests erupt across the Bay in San Jose and San Francisco and Oakland, where they marched toward Coast Guard Island in Alameda. And that's where Border Patrol agents had shown up early Thursday morning.
A majority of the protests were peaceful, but tensions rose in Oakland, where flashbangs and tear gas were thrown into the crowd, and things took a turn Thursday night.
That's video of Coast Guard security forces opening up fire at a U-Haul backing up toward them. The driver was shot in the stomach. He is expected to survive. The Department of Homeland Security said the driver is being held for mental health evaluation. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said, one strike, you could be out.
The president said that was their one chance, that if they don't figure out how to protect our law enforcement officers and protect our Coast Guard members, that we would be forced to come in and protect those individuals.
And even though the activity in the North Bay was relatively quiet, activists in Sonoma County maintained the local response wasn't good enough.
Especially for an economy that relies heavily on immigrants. Dahlin reports.
The wine industry relies heavily on the immigrant community. Threats of stepped up ICE activity in San Francisco create a fear for undocumented immigrants all over the Bay Area, including here in Sonoma County. Advocates say local leaders should have done more to ease their concerns.
Our sheriff is betraying our community. He is lying.
There's only one thing that's happening here. It's white supremacy.
Strong accusations aimed at Sonoma County elected leaders. The Sonoma County Sanctuary Coalition held a press conference on Saturday, saying top officials failed to show support for the immigrant community.
If they were coming for white kids, if they were terrorizing white kids, they wouldn't be doing this. This would be a crisis. They don't care about brown and black people in this county. It's clear.
Nathan Kempthorne and his wife Esther say because of her skin color and Spanish accent, their family often carries passports when they leave the house.
I feel a target on my back. So I feel like I needed to have something else to prove that I am here, I'm a U.S. citizen.
The family and other immigrant advocates say Sonoma County leaders should have held a news conference like other Bay Area counties to show how they're protecting immigrant workers.
They need to say more. I want to see that press conference. I want to see them say, we have the back of our people here.
Supporters of county leaders push back, saying the threat was aimed at San Francisco, not Sonoma County, and they didn't want to poke the bear and draw ICE attention.
We are taking this threat very seriously, even though Santa Rosa and Sonoma County were not called out in this most recent deployment. We totally understand the threat to our immigrant community, and we want to be very clear that we stand with them.
Supervisor Linda Hopkins says the county has been working to support immigrant families and to prepare for any future ICE action. But activists say those are empty words, claiming supervisors refuse to pass a non-collaboration ordinance that would ban law enforcement from working with ICE.
We do not, as the Sonoma County Board of the Supervisors, actually have the authority to direct the policies of the sheriff's office. So we cannot actually pass a sanctuary ordinance that tells the Sonoma County Sheriff what to do. Instead, what we have done is we actually passed a resolution directing our departments, so departments that are not represented by an elected official like the sheriff, to safeguard information to the extent that we can.
The sheriff's office is facing accusations that it works with ICE, but the department maintains it does not collaborate with immigration agents. Despite the lack of support they feel from local leaders, advocates like the Kempthorne say they will continue to fight Trump policies.
It's not going to be easy, but we're not gonna stop.
The Sonoma County Sanctuary Coalition will hold a rally on Thursday afternoon at the county jail. They want to continue to pressure the sheriff to adopt a policy of no contact with ICE.
In other news tonight, 2 suspects have been arrested in the murder case of Mark Calcagni, who was manager at the Condor Club, a strip club in San Francisco. Police say 43-year-old Richard Lund and 25-year-old Asia Morton were both former employees at the club. Detectives say on October 3rd, Lund waited for Calcagni to return home and fatally shot him, while Morton helped plan the attack. Police are still investigating what could have motivated the shooting.
Well, some nasty spills in Sonoma County where the rain has impacted road conditions. This was on Highway 116 near Forestville, where a truck lost control and flipped over. Luckily, no one was hurt. Then about 25 miles east on Warm Springs Road, a driver and her 2 dogs were in a car that spun out and crashed down into a 15-foot embankment into a creek. CHP says the driver and the dogs are okay.
This is a case of too much wind on the windshield, going too quick. These roads are super slick right now, so if you even try to do the speed limit, you're probably the chances of sliding out is pretty good.
Merely the forward motion of the vehicle. It wasn't terribly windy out there today. All right, let's get into the forecast for now. There's another round of widespread rain coming tomorrow morning. And I'm going to show that to you right after I show you what's going on now. Look at this. A little bit of light rain here, just moving through the North Bay. You don't really get a whole lot from this. This is a good example of what may happen for the next few hours. Just a few light showers that come through. Right now it's in the North Bay and it's falling apart. Let's go to the wide view because I want to show you what's more important. And that is the forecast for tomorrow. So we're going to see another round of widespread rain move through the Bay. This is the futurecast now, and that's tomorrow morning at 7 and 8 a.m. 9 a.m. it's in the North Bay. And then it gets down to the Golden Gate right around noon. That's pretty well organized there right through the middle of the day. Everybody should notice something. Then it falls apart as it gets down to the South Bay tomorrow, and by the time we get to like 3 or 4 o'clock, we're pretty much done with it. There won't be a whole lot to it. We'll put some rainfall totals on it. I'm going to play that again because it is your Sunday, so we'll watch it again so you can time out any outdoor plans you might have. And then we're going to look ahead to next week. Late summer's coming back. I'll see you with that in a few minutes, guys. Back to you.
All right, Darren, thank you. South Bay Congressman Sam Liccardo was in Mountain View to help distribute meals for hungry families. This comes as SNAP benefits, known as CalFresh here in California, is set to run out of funding because of the government shutdown. CalFresh allows people to buy fresh food from grocery stores. 168,000 people in Santa Clara and San Mateo counties rely on that program.
We know that thousands of families in the Bay Area are struggling to pay rent, to pay their utility bills, and if they do not have this very small supplement to help them pay for groceries, many of them will have to choose between keeping the lights on and feeding their families.
Representative Liccardo is calling on the president to open up a $50 billion reserve meant for emergencies like this to keep the program going.
About 5.5 million people in California receive SNAP benefits. Our Katie Nielsen talked to one recipient who is worried about how he'll put food on the table.
This man didn't want to give us his name, but said he's working full-time and drives Uber on the side. But it's still not enough to make ends meet.
$296 doesn't get you very far when you're feeding a couple of people, you know?
He says that $296 is for himself, another adult, and 2 children. And without it, they'll have to make some tough decisions.
Either skipping meals or borrowing money or hoping that, more money comes through.
He says he feels lucky he can drive Uber to help make up the difference, but he's frustrated, saying it's not fair political gamesmanship is impacting real families.
What can you do? What can you do?
We are absolutely on the precipice of a hunger emergency.
Allison Pratt with the Alameda County Community Food Bank says their organization and other food banks will see a surge in people needing help if the benefits are delayed.
SNAP is really our nation's first defense against hunger, right? So am I going to pay my rent or am I going to buy groceries this month? Like, these are the decisions that people are going to be forced to make.
And for families already living paycheck to paycheck, recovering from a financial setback isn't easy.
The impact's going to be for a long time here, I don't think that we're going to recover anytime soon.
And as California faces a potential food emergency, Gavin Newsom has activated the National Guard to assist food banks. Troops have already arrived in LA to help out, but the offer has been rejected by food banks around the Bay Area, mostly because of community fears stoked by the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. San Francisco Marin Food Bank said that they don't plan on using the National Guard for their efforts, emphasizing nobody should have to worry about their safety when accessing food. So we wanted to explore this a bit more. Joining us to talk more about this is the food bank's executive director, Tanis Crosby. Tanis, thanks for taking time out of your Saturday evening to chat about this. Did you guys discuss much the option of bringing in the National Guard?
Well, what we're really supported by is a community that cares. It takes a community to work to end hunger. San Francisco Marin residents care about our neighbors that are facing not getting SNAP benefits on November 1st. And we're working with our partners, with our community, and with local leaders to make sure that we can do everything we can. But this is going to be devastating, to be sure. In San Francisco and Marin, there are 90,000 families that won't have CalFresh benefits on November 1. And we're very concerned. We're very concerned about the veterans, the seniors, the low-income families that won't receive those much-needed funds to buy food. We're going to do all we can, and we believe that our community will step up.
Right, but did you consider bringing or using the National Guard?
We said no thanks to the National Guard. We believe that we can rally our community, mobilize our community. We want to make sure that, number one, there's safety in accessing food. Everyone should be able to access the food they need without fear, because food is a human right, and that means accessing it with dignity and safety.
How deep is the need this year? I mean, I know every year it's never easy, but I mean, it's obvious on the face of it that with the government shutdown and the potential cutting off of SNAP, that it would be critical this year. So do you have a way of quantifying how much is needed and also what people can do?
Yeah, well, even before this, food insecurity is already at a record high. Food insecurity is higher now than it was at the height of the pandemic, and that might be surprising, but it's true. So we're seeing food insecurity at record highs, and that's before this shutdown. And I also want to remind folks that Congress approved cutting SNAP. There are devastating cuts to SNAP, known here as CalFresh in California. These SNAP cuts are yet to come. So things are bad right now, and we are fearful that they're going to get even worse. Right now, it's an all-hands-on-deck effort to mobilize to get food resources into the community. But I also want to be very clear, Congress could take action to fund SNAP, and the USDA could choose to use its own contingency funds to fund SNAP. So these policy choices are creating more hunger instead of fighting it, and we don't think that's a good thing.
All right, Tanis Crosby, Executive Director of the San Francisco Marin Food Bank. Tanis, thanks very much, and good luck with everything. It looks like it's going to be a bumpy road ahead. Thank you for joining us tonight. And coming up is former VP Kamala Harris gearing up for another presidential run. We'll have details when we come back. And welcome back. Is former Vice President Kamala Harris teasing a presidential run? She did in an interview with the BBC.
When are they going to see a woman in charge in the White House?
In their lifetime, for sure.
Could it be you? Possibly. Have you made a decision yet?
No, I have not.
But you say in your book, I'm not done.
That is correct. I am not done.
In a recent CBS poll, Californians weighed in on whether Kamala Harris should run for president in 2028, and nearly 70% said she should not. Californians were also mixed on a possible run from Governor Gavin Newsom, with just over half saying he should not, while Newsom himself repeatedly has denied he has any interest, a position he began waffling on this past summer. Now to the midterm elections, where San Francisco State Senator Scott Wiener is looking to run for Congress, and Kelsey Thorid has more.
Representing this community.
State Senator Scott Wiener has officially entered the race for California's 11th congressional district, the seat held by former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for almost 40 years.
This really isn't about Nancy Pelosi. This is about the future and this moment in time where we have rising authoritarianism and cost of living increase. We need to really help make people's lives better. And it's about going forward for the future and representation of San Francisco.
Weiner has represented San Francisco in the state Senate since 2016. Before that, he was on San Francisco's Board of Supervisors. It was long believed that Weiner would run for Pelosi's seat once she retired. But this announcement comes before Pelosi's team has announced whether or not she plans to run for re-election in 2026.
Yeah, I have enormous respect for Speaker Emerita Pelosi. She has moved mountains for the country, for San Francisco, and I think the world of her. I do not know what her plans are, only she can say, and she has not said so far. But I know that San Francisco deserves the strongest possible representation.
We reached out to Pelosi's office for comment on Weiner entering the race. They did not speak to the race itself, instead sending us this statement saying, quote, Speaker Pelosi is fully focused on her mission to win the Yes on 50 special election in California on November 4th. She urges all Californians to join in that mission on the path to taking back the House for Democrats. Scott Weiner is not the only person in this primary. Shoykat Chakrabarty, a former tech executive who worked as chief of staff for New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, launched his campaign earlier this month.
I think the Democratic Party is ready for a new kind of politics that's movement-based. And on my campaign, we had 800 people show up to a rally just a couple weeks ago, which is unheard of. I've never seen that in a congressional race, much less one 9 months out from the primary.
Shoykat is framing himself as the anti-establishment candidate, saying Senator Weiner wouldn't bring any change to Congress.
Voters in San Francisco will have a choice. Do they want to go for somebody who is an establishment pick, who's going to kind of be advocating for a return to a pre-Trump status quo? Or do they want to vote for somebody who will campaign and work as a movement and do the kind of politics of someone like AOC, who will actually fight and who's pitching, trying to build a new economy and society that actually works?
But Senator Weiner says he's proved what he can do at the state level and wants to do the same in Congress.
I've worked very, very hard for San Francisco, and I've delivered over and over again, whether on housing or healthcare affordability or expanding clean energy or fighting for democracy. And I look forward to taking that fight to Washington, D.C.
Earlier today, Weiner hosted his annual pumpkin carving contest in Noe Valley, but it was crashed by a group of protesters. They say that Weiner's trans-positive legislation harms both women and children, and Weiner doesn't want to hear it.
He doesn't listen to us. We're constituents, and he refuses to meet with us.
Why the chicken costumes?
Because he's a chicken. He won't meet with lesbians or his constituents or women who are concerned about his laws.
Protesters also say it is, quote, inappropriate to host drag queens as celebrity judges at the family-friendly event. Meanwhile, Scott Weiner says he hears it every year.
It's sad because this is like a pumpkin carving primarily for kids, and they have every right to protest. That's their First Amendment right, but I think it's pretty gross, honestly.
All right, let's get into this forecast. We're going to talk about the rain and time it out in detail coming up in a second. And of course, you can see what tomorrow's bringing. Some light rain, it'll be great, it'll be cool. Let's look at the whole 7-day, because I want to start drawing your attention to what most of next week is going to be. Low 80s and sunshine. And when we look at the longer range forecast, it's likely we might get locked into that pattern for a little bit, going into early November even. That might be the bigger issue. Now, granted, tomorrow is still the second half of your weekend and there's rain coming, so that's always a big deal. And let's get into the details on that now. But I just wanted to bring that up because it might be that warm and sunny of next week that becomes the bigger factor for us going long range. All right, let's start out with tomorrow morning. We're going to time out the rain again. Watch the timestamp on the bottom of your screen. And here comes the leading edge of the rain through the North Bay around sunrise, 7 to 8 o'clock. Comes down the Golden Gate about noon, falls apart from there into the early afternoon as it marches its way south. And by about 5 o'clock, we're done. That's it. There's not really a whole lot to it. And if we look at the totals on here, maybe 1/100 of an inch of rain for Monterey. And you can see Santa Cruz might end up with a little more you did today. These numbers are almost identical to what you did today. The only difference with tomorrow's rain and what you had today is tomorrow, the organized line of rain that we just saw is coming through a little bit later than what happened today. And by that, I mean today, most of the rain moved through Sonoma County before sunrise. Tomorrow it's going to come through like right after sunrise, and that does place it at the Golden Gate around noon. So you're likely to notice it a little bit more if you are in the city. All right, let's get some daytime highs on here. See how we're going to do tomorrow. We'll start out by checking out the numbers in general for the Bay. And as we look at those numbers on here, we'll start out with a somewhat closer vantage point so we can pick out our locators. And to start out by looking at the numbers on here for places like the Tri-Valley and Santa Clara Valley and San Francisco. You can see your numbers on there, right around 70 in San Jose tomorrow with a gray day, on and off drops of rain, upper 60s in Lanice Bay, and it'll be in the low 60s up there in the North Bay. And just to skip down to Monterey now, let's get your numbers on here, and your temperatures are going to be pretty similar. And the rain down here should come to an end by about 6 p.m., 7 p.m., if we even get much measurable. And I don't think we're really going to get a whole lot of measurable precipitation down there. All right, let's change our perspective for a bit. We've been watching this system sitting out here in the Gulf for the last few days, and it is active out here. Now, granted, what we're about to see come through is our last little dance that we're going to have for a little while with the storm track here. We need to go to the other side of the hemisphere for what is also going to be likely a very big story as we get into the middle of the week. That's a hurricane. And you've probably been hearing a little about Melissa in the background. It had been a tropical storm up until today, and now this is most certainly categorized as a hurricane. And when we take a look at what the forecast track on this is, get a close-up look at that, you can see this is going to go right across Jamaica. And the timing on this is likely going to be Monday and Tuesday. Let's come out for a wider view on this. I'll put just a little more context on this, because as we watch that storm spin out there now, but if we change our perspective and instead look at the accumulated rainfall between now and Wednesday, when this starts to shade into white, it is off the scale. It's not even on here. That's about 2 to 3 feet of rain that will be moving across Jamaica and Haiti. Specifically for Jamaica, it's going to be that eastern side. And just for a little reference on that, if we look at this, Jamaica is mountainous. Those are like 6,000 foot high mountains there. Those mountains will then supercharge the rain, and there are drainages where all that runoff's got to go somewhere. This is Kingston. This is the major population center. These are both on the front lines of this. Just a little bit of an early heads up that we're likely going to be hearing a lot about this over the course of this week. And we'll be keeping you updated on that, as will the national news as well. All right, just to finish the story here with our forecast, I showed you the 7-day for the inland microclimates at the start. Here it is for the Bay. Same story. Going to be warm and sunny for most of next week. Few light showers tomorrow, and it's done by early afternoon. Okay.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
And welcome back. 2 people are in custody tonight after a shooting near Howard University in Washington, D.C. At least 5 people were hurt.
It happened last night as thousands of people were on the university's campus to celebrate homecoming weekend. Police blocked off the area of this McDonald's across from the school. The victims were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. One man described the scene as the shooting unfolded.
All you hear is yelling, people running. Ah! All from down there by Vatican. They come out by McDonald's. You're like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? But when you hear something, but it's like fake because it's loud. You know what I'm saying? Apparently they was letting off shots. The police told us. Everybody came down here.
Howard University says the shooting is not affiliated with the school and no students, faculty, or staff were involved.
In other news, President Donald Trump is ramping up his campaign to counter narcotics traffickers. The Pentagon says they are sending over one of their biggest aircraft carriers to the Caribbean. Charlie Daggett has got the details.
The deployment of the Ford aircraft carrier and its escorting warships to the Caribbean is the strongest signal yet the U.S. is preparing to widen its airstrike campaign in the region. With 10 strikes on suspected drug boats already, including one overnight that allegedly killed 6 narco-terrorists, the Trump administration has warned Venezuela and its cartels that striking land is next.
We will treat you like we have treated al-Qaeda. We will find you. We will map your networks, we will hunt you down, and we will kill you.
The Navy's largest ship, the Ford is stocked with F-18 fighter jets, surveillance aircraft, helicopters, and 4,500 sailors. Already in the region are 8 other warships and 10,000 troops. Corey Shockey served on the National Security Council under George W. Bush.
Are they preparing for war?
The president was willing to strike the Iranian nuclear infrastructure. The president's been willing to make these strikes in both the Pacific and the Caribbean. So I don't think we should rule it out.
President Trump has made it clear he wants Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro removed from power with a $50 million reward for information leading to his arrest. Maduro has been holding his own drills with live fire exercises and recently warned his military has 5,000 Russian-made anti-aircraft missiles ready to fire.
Not war, not.
But overnight, he appealed for a peaceful resolution.
Just peace, forever, 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 peace forever.
President Trump this week said Maduro has offered concessions.
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States.
Well, ExxonMobil is suing California over a pair of state laws that require large companies to disclose information related to climate change impacts. Exxon says the bills infringe its free speech, and the new reporting requirements place disproportionate blame for climate change on corporations like Exxon. Meanwhile, the governor's office says it's not surprising that, quote, one of the biggest polluters on the planet would be opposed to transparency.
Well, President Trump is off to Asia for the next week, where he's expected to meet with a number of world leaders, including Chinese President Xi Jinping. CBS's James Inman has got those details.
President Trump departed on a 6-day trip to Asia late Friday. His visit will include stops in Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea, where the president is expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping during the Asia-Pacific Economic Summit.
We have a lot of things to discuss, including our farmers. Right? We have a lot of things to discuss. The various trade deals that have been made in the past, and some broken, some not broken, but we've got many, many things. I think it's going to turn out to be a very good meeting.
The president says he is also open to meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at the DMZ.
They have a lot of nuclear weapons, but not a lot of telephone service, so I'm open to it. I had a great relationship with him, and he probably knows I'm coming.
The president's visit to Asia comes amidst the ongoing government shutdown, which reached day 25 on Saturday. On Saturday, while aboard Air Force One, President Trump told reporters that an anonymous donor had contributed $130 million to the Pentagon in an effort to keep military troops paid during the government shutdown.
He's a great gentleman. He's a great patriot. He's obviously a very substantial man, and he contributed $130 million toward the military in order to make up any difference. So he wanted to see the military get paid. So did I.
The president blames Democrats for the shutdown and reiterated Saturday he is willing to sit down with Democratic leaders to discuss health care reforms, but only after they vote to reopen the government.
Coming up, India's Festival of Lights arrives in San Jose. Why the South Bay's Diwali celebration costs a little more this year thanks to tariffs. Stay with us.
A festive scene in downtown San Jose, where the city is hosting its first ever Diwali celebration. The Hindu holiday, also known as the Festival of Lights, celebrates the triumph of goodness and light over darkness and evil. The celebration is scheduled to continue till 9 o'clock tonight.
And this year's celebrations are a little pricier thanks to a 50% tariff on Indian imports by the Trump administration. Cara St. Cyr introduces us to a store owner who says he is trying to keep costs down for customers.
Because it's Diwali, we're getting a lot of them, so I'm running around and getting it done so that we don't have that people waiting for us too long.
Haribot is on the move, filling orders in the beginning hours of Diwali, the Hindu Festival of Lights.
But can I borrow the credit card machine?
New India Bazaar, the family's business, is experiencing the celebration differently this year.
Yeah, the gulab jamun I have are fresh.
More people, longer lines.
The last time I saw it like this was the rush right before COVID.
And higher prices.
Sorry, can you ring these up, please?
The Trump administration imposed a 50% tariff on the majority of Indian exports, including textiles and rice, essential items for Diwali celebrations.
We've seen anywhere between 15% to 50%. I think so the best ones are eating part of the cost, and we're eating part of the cost. And so when it gets down to the customers for these, specially imported items, we're doing our best.
Bott says the store stockpiled non-perishables like candles and decorations before the tariffs were imposed. But perishables like Parle G, a popular dessert, saw a 43% jump in pricing. Something Bott says the family didn't want to do.
Our customers are our community. We've had this shop for 30 years.
But Bott is encouraged by the line of customers, like Ravi Magar, who still came in for a handful of sweets.
This is barfi, laddu, gulab jamun, rasgulle, and milk cake.
Bott anticipates having to raise prices again if the tariffs remain.
You had asked for the Haldiram brand of milk cake. I'm sold out of that one.
But for now, his focus is on the community, a light he says nothing can dim.
I'm going to do this. All right, let's get ready for tomorrow's rain. When we get back together again in the Futurecast, we're going to walk you through the timing on this. We're almost going to do exactly what we did today, but it's going to come through a little bit later. We're going to time this out in detail. I'll get you ready for Sunday. And then we got to look ahead to next week, which might be a bigger story. Late summer does not want to quit on us yet. I'll show you what I mean by that. Forecast coming up. All right, let's get you ready for round 2 of the rain. Sunday, we're going to do it all over again, and I'm going to show you that. 1 second first, we're not done with Saturday night's rain. Get a close-up look here. You're taking a look at Saturday evening as light showers are still grazing across the North Bay. I think that's pretty representative of what we could still see overnight tonight. Very short-lived lines of rain which could come through, but they don't amount to much. All right, let's go on to the wider view now because I want to show you what is coming our way as we get into tomorrow. So we'll take the Futurecast. You'll see the times are going to start ticking forward there on the bottom of your screen. And we're going to start this at the beginning, tomorrow morning, late. And when we put this into the Futurecast, when I say late, I mean sunrise for the North Bay. And that's a few hours later than it started today. Because today you got the rain pre-dawn in the North Bay. Tomorrow it'll start like around 7, 8 in the morning. So I think more of us will be awake to notice it. And then that means it's going to progress across the bay a little bit later as well. I'm going to play it again since we just watched that. Now we kind of know the theme here. The rain comes through a little bit later. Let's pick it up again from the beginning. In the North Bay here tomorrow, that's a pretty well-organized line. That's like 7, 8 o'clock. It gets down to the Golden Gate here about noon. And that's when most of us notice an organized line of relatively light rain move across. And then it finally gets down into the Santa Clara Valley like around 4 or 5 o'clock. At that point, it's fallen apart. You may not get much. In fact, take a look at the rainfall numbers on here. How much might we get? Salinas, Monterey, maybe you get 1/100 of an inch of rain. Santa Cruz might get about 1/10. You did that today. San Jose, you didn't get anything measurable today. You may not tomorrow either. Livermore gets 1/100 of an inch. City comes away with about 1/10 of an inch. Santa Rosa comes away with about 1/4 of an inch, and maybe more than that up in the mountains in the North Bay. These numbers are almost identical to the numbers that went through today. We're really not changing that a whole lot. How's it going to feel tomorrow? Still relatively cool, so we'll start out by taking a look at some of the numbers on here. These are the numbers for the Bay in general. We'll start out there with San Jose going to about 70. Then you can see the numbers there in Livermore and Concord and Santa Rosa in the upper 60s. Let's get down to Monterey and get your numbers on here. We'll see how things will play out down here as well. 71 in Hollister, 10 degrees cooler than that in Santa Cruz. And Monterey will be at about 66 for the daytime high. Okay, one other perspective on this. We have been keeping our eyes out here, rightfully so, for our weather. Storm track is still active up here in the Gulf of Pacific, but our branch of it is about to come to a close. When we get to the 70 forecast in 1 second, the real story is going to be the warm-up for us next week. I'm going to show you the 7-day forecast in 1 second. First, we need to talk about something else this week, which is almost certainly going to be taking headlines, and we got to do the long walk to get over here to the Caribbean. That's Melissa, now a hurricane. And this, you might not have been hearing a whole lot about this one just yet, unless you've really been following the weather headlines. now categorized as a hurricane. And if we just kind of clear off the satellite imagery and you can see where we are, there's a lot of warm ocean water down here. Some of these sea surface temperatures are in the upper 80s, like 88 degrees. Put your hand in the water, it's 88 degrees down here. That's about 4 or 5 degrees in places above average. That's a lot of fuel for what is about to intensify into a major hurricane. We got to get a close-up look at this on here. You can see the track. This is the official forecast track now, which has a Category 4 hurricane making a direct hit on Jamaica early this week, likely Monday into Tuesday. Category 4 brings a whole list of concerns that are likely running through your mind. You can think of the intensity of the wind, storm surge. There's one other element about this one which makes it particularly troubling. And if we pick out some of the detail on that, you can see what Melissa looks like now. But let's futurecast that over the course of the next 4 days for rainfall. Now, the scale on here, you can see here's Jamaica. These areas of white are where the accumulated rainfall is off the charts. I mean, this thing only goes to 10 inches. That's showing you where we could get 3 feet of rain moving through parts of Jamaica. And the thing about Jamaica, to look at this a little differently, is it is quite mountainous. These mountains in Jamaica are as much as 6,000 feet high. Look at the drainages here. 3 feet of water in there spilling through those drainages is going to become a very big problem. That, by the way, that's the major city. That's Kingston, which is not as vulnerable as some of those other small communities. But the whole island's got a significant risk. And that's going to be a major story for us as we head into this week. We're going to be hearing a lot about it. We will be keeping you updated, as will the CBS Evening News and any other. We're all going to be watching that one. Here's your 7-day forecast for us. Okay, look at next week. We know about tomorrow's rain. Look at the warm-up for next week. Sunny and low 80s. We're going right back into late summer here again for not only the entire second half of this 7-day forecast, but some of the long-range models are now showing us we might get locked into that pattern for a while. Sunny and warm. If you like the gray, misty coolness, feeling of fall, enjoy Sunday, because after that, we're going back into late summer. All right, guys, back to you.
All righty, Darren, thank you. And coming up next, we're introducing you to, get this, a whistling champion. And welcome back. The Hiller Aviation Museum in San Carlos held its annual pumpkin drop today. It's all part of their annual festival this weekend for Halloween.
And families watch behind a fence as a person dressed as a witch dropped the pumpkin from a helicopter. The museum's gallery was also decked out for Halloween. Another pumpkin drop will happen tomorrow.
Kind of expecting a parachute to pop out. That poor little pumpkin didn't have a chance.
Just splat.
Whistling is a skill you either have or you don't. And one San Francisco man not only has the skill, he's the world champion for it.
Can you whistle?
No.
Oh.
You can, I think.
I can. Our Kenny Choi caught up with him to see what it takes to find the perfect pitch.
At any given moment, chances are pretty good Jack Scano is doing what he does best.
I go about my business, take a shower, make coffee, and I just keep going.
He whistles classical tunes, pop hits, and more.
Some of them I go really loud and operatic, like, and some others are.
During musical performances as a child in Italy, while others played instruments, Jack clutched a microphone to whistle.
I've been whistling my whole life. I haven't quite dreamed of winning the world champion title for whistling my whole life.
But for the first time this year, Jack decided to compete for a world title. More than 50 whistlers from 8 countries convened in Los Angeles the first week of October. Carol Ann Kaufman is producer of the Masters of Musical Whistling International Festival and Competition and 2-time world whistling champion.
I'm hoping that what we do with these champions that we create and the ambassadorship that we create for musical whistling, that ultimately we're giving people permission to embrace their own art form.
There's no prize money, just bragging rights. Scano placed first overall, claiming the world title. His wife isn't tuning him out.
when I won the award, it was the first time I heard her scream to the top of her lungs to support me. So that was pretty cool.
He whistles at least 6 hours a day. He's proving a lot of practice and grit can make you a world champion.
So have you tried whistling and you just can't
I
do
just
it?
can't do it. But can you do the Andy Griffith show theme?
Oh gosh. Oh, you got it.
What Andy Griffith show did you watch? Still, it's a story.
I tried. I'm not breathing
Scotty can
properly,
do it.
so yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. But anyway, much better than me. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here at
There's
11
a little
tonight.
bit of us out there. Until then, the news continues streaming on CBS News Bay Area. Good night. And whistle away.